Hey everyone, Steve here from PC Budget Solutions, and I'm going to show you guys something pretty cool. So today is just, it is another bill lock, so it's not super exciting or super new in that regard, but this is starting to hit some of the higher end of the stuff that I normally do for my normal customers. And I do build higher end systems, don't get me wrong, but the vast majority of my customers range between 500 and 1,000. This is a system that would probably cost you between, if you're lucky and score some of these parts you use instead of new, around $650, $700. Most of mine were new. In fact, everything was new. Even the processor was actually just bought and never used. Same thing with the board, still sealed. Everything was sealed. So I spent a fair bit more. I think around like 800 or 750 or 800. I think I have it listed for 850 or something. You know, it's a little bit of money, but this is definitely going to be an upper. This is where we start to hit, you know, some of the mid-range where you're going to be doing maybe a little bit of streaming. The system's going to be overclocked. It's going to be fun. So let's take a look. Let's go along for the ride here. Let's get this system built. So one of the first things we want to do, so this is already been partially built. This is the i5 6600K. Got it for a really good deal. Was never used. Still brand new in a box. Same thing with the board. We want to switch out this fan. Not because this fan is bad. This is the Deep Cool Gamax 400. However, the problem we're going to have is this is going to be an RGB system, and while we're not putting an RGB fan in here, having a stagnant blue LED fan I think would definitely do it a fair bit of disservice. So I do have a Hyper 212 Evo. The only reason why I'm not switching to it is I don't like the mounting, to be honest. I really don't. And you know, I would rather, oh man, can't quite twist as far as I want. I would rather just use the Gamax 400. It already is proven to me to do very well in thermals for the overclock we're using. So why mess with that, right? So I know the Hyper 212 Evo will probably do as good. Shouldn't be an issue, but it's kind of already tested, tried. The thermal paste has been on. So everything's kosher on it. Now this fan is actually one from Kohler Master. It's used on the ML Master Liquid 120 Lite. So I know it's going to perform well. If not, we will switch it out for something else. No big deal. Let's go ahead and get some RAM installed next. We do have some G-Skill memory. Now I don't have super fast memory for a couple of reasons. The XMP profile only goes to 2400 on this system. And I'm not really interested in dialing timings. Sure, we're going to overclock the CPU a bit, but there's good reason for that. This board has one-step overclocking. And I know that the thermals are fine, the voltages are fine. Can it go further? Sure. But you have to realize somebody's buying this system and it may not be stable forever. And I don't want to deal with the headache. Get some extra performance. That's all we need. So also the screws are actually very decent as well. So I didn't use the screws that came with it because I was using a radiator. So I was using screws I already had. And what I like about them is I'm not sure if these are already, well, technically they're pre-threaded because I'm pretty sure that did I thread them through the front? No, I didn't thread them with these ones. I thread them with ones that kind of went all the way through. So, but they're quite easy to turn. So I'm not trying to put them all the way in yet. But so the reason why I say that is when I put the back one in, I dropped one of these screws. I just grabbed another one I had right in front of me that I had already used for this case, and I'm like, wow, this is harder than the other one is. So I'm gonna get this last one in. It's not really interesting to watch, and then we'll see what we want to put in after that. So now we need to analyze a couple things, and I'll tell you why. So I already worked with this case once before. I'm going to put an SSD there and a hard drive there. So this SATA connector, which has 4, is fine. Okay. We plugged in a PCI Express, and we already have 8-pin and 24-pin. However, just from working with these fans before, the way we're going to do this, we do need Molex. So we want to make sure, so when you look at this readout, well, these are actually, can probably fit everything, but it's you can see here there's 2 6 slots, and that's usually for SATA or peripheral. But just to be safe, we want to make sure we use the right one, but we're not going to need more than that anyway. So one thing that can help me is bring the cables on the table so it doesn't pull on the power supply. Turn this so you guys can see what I'm doing here. It'd be good if okay. There's one. Push on that. There's two. There is this corner right here. There's three. And then this one up here. And we'll just go back through and tighten all these down. Just like that. Sometimes these are not threaded ideally. I've used the power supply by I opened it and it tested it by having installed into a case yet. So now the fun part. Let's get all these attached and going. So here's what I like about these. So these are proprietary connectors to these fans, which is good. However, this can take an addressable chain from another set of fans, which is one of the big reasons why I'm going to be able to use 6. Because I can put those into here. This connects into here. I'm definitely going to tape that though, just to be safe. And then this goes into Molex. So, and then we can control everything via here. So let's run these super quick here. We have 2 up front and 1 in the back. Oop, no one I want here. There we go. So there is a notch at the top, and there's a groove here. Just goes right in. And you know what's funny is I used to think like, oh, Chinese made, not good. Things come from Korea and other countries that have a decent economy in some areas and not so decent economy in others. So it doesn't really matter. As long as it feels good and it works. I mean, that's really all that matters. So what I want to figure out now is where do I want to put this? And honestly, that corner right there. It makes sense. There's no fans there. And then what I'll probably do is maybe I can, I'm going to try to, I'll show you guys on top, but I might be able to mount this on the inside of the case. So that is where all this is going to go for now. And we'll definitely do some tie downs of some sort. We might even tie it down, say over here. But that at least will handle that. Let's get the SSD in here in a minute, and then we'll get the board in. So we're using a Silicon Power 480 gig SSD. I've used this one before. It's fine. I got no problems with it. A couple other people in the industry have used them without too much trouble. I mean, when we're looking at budget, the mid-range SSDs, there's a couple I would avoid. This honestly is perfectly fine. So I'm just, nope. I need this one. I'm only using this specific screw because that's the one that I used before. So, because then I'll end up being short on a screw. And yeah. So one of the reasons I want to show you this, I actually did it backwards first and couldn't figure out why I couldn't get it on. Yeah. So, right here. There we go. So I literally tried to like put it on the bottom and it wasn't like fitting into the bracket. It's like, what am I doing wrong? Well, I was being an idiot. That's what I was doing wrong. And I just know from experience that this should fit here. So this actually holds it pretty well. Whoops. So I'm probably still going to use screws just as I will be selling this. And I'm just doing that as a precaution. But for this purpose, you know what? No, let's get some screws. The one downside, we're not getting the motherboard yet, but I have the hard drive I'm putting in. When you screw it in, you really have to be even. Like normally with an SSD I would do 2, But the thing is you don't want to mess with the weight distribution. You want to do as little changing that as humanly possible. Just because it's a mechanical drive that spins. You don't want to off center at all. So let's get the big part in. Let's get you guys up on here and let's get the motherboard in next. And just to show you, this is a new system across the board. Opening the I/O shield for the first time. My last footage showed me installing an I/O shield for a whole different computer. And that would not be the first, the second, the 100th, or the last time that I've done that. But regardless. So from that experience of installing it, I learned something, and that was that I definitely want to try to push it in by the bottom first. Now the downside is I have a fan already installed. I need to move the motherboard on the ground on top of a block so I can stand up. There we go, that's it. Now, this is not a standard ATX layout. It's a little bit short on the sides, but it will end up taking a total of 5 screws plus the punch out. So we are in there. So I almost lost a screw. And we are going to go relatively most difficult to least. Now, if you run into issues with getting some of these screws in, and you have a tall collar such as this, you can definitely take the collar off if need be. So, it's not a big deal here. Now, one thing I noticed is this is not quite, there we go, now we're centered. Wasn't flush with the I/O shield. And the reason behind that is because there's a retention bracket that pushes up against it to force a good amount of contact. So yeah, this one's going in a lot easier. Let's go down in the corner here. Oops. Okay, that didn't come out. I was like, wait, is that one not lined up? And I could have sworn there was one there. So this one will go all the way down, followed by the one up here. And then we will just finish the cross pattern. There we go, there's that one. That one. And that one. We're in. Okay, graphics card installation time. Always fun. Also, one of my most popular videos on YouTube. In fact, it still is. But I digress. I actually need screws to screw this in. Got it. That. There is that. I wanted to start wiring some things up before we start to get a little crazy. Actually, we're at that stage now, so let's start getting everything connected here. The only downside is I didn't like where the USB 3 for my other board is. Being at the bottom of the case, it's kind of a pain in the butt. But let's go ahead. Let's get some things going here. And one set of cable I want to run is the front power connectors through the bottom here. There we go. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Now what I'll do is I will. Ah, they fell through. It's fine. I got them. I think anyway. Do I really? I do not have them. It's fine. I can push them through this way. It's not really a big deal. So these go in the bottom corner. was sitting on. So on this particular board, it is bottommost right corner there. Next, we're going to want to route the USB 3 cable, and that actually routes right over through here, just like that. Now let's get our PCI Express here. Let's run our favorite 8-pin here. Now it's going to come out through the top here. That way you guys can see a little better. Now the one thing I'll give this case, it has a fair bit of clearance up top, so my hand's not hopefully going to get all cut up trying to plug this in. A lot easier to do when you have a water cooler. And I realized, let's take a look here. So I actually put this through wrong. I'll explain what I mean in a second. We wanted to basically bend in place. That's what we want to do. Twist on there, we go. Okay. So now it'll go straight in. Ever doing this with a heatsink on? Just recommend be careful. There we go. How many times I've cut my hands on heat sinks doing this? Too many to count. Luckily, came off unscathed, thankfully, although I was rubbing up against it. And you can also start bending fins, and of course that's not the end of the world by any stretch, but just not something you want to deal with on a consistent basis. Yeah, make sure, again, get the bends right. In this case, I'll put my hand behind the board to hold it while it goes into place. Now what I'm going to want to do is locate all of our fan headers. So we have one down at the bottom, and interestingly enough, I didn't even know this case actually has a spot. We have one right here, so that's where this one's going. And then we have two right up here, perfect. So since none of these are on radiators, not that worried about it. It'll be fine. And we'll just control them all the same. So we'll come over here, over the top, and we'll just plug them both in. My general consensus is do the best cable management you can do up front. And I'm not saying ignore cable management in the back, just make sure you're doing the best job you can up front. And then worry about the back. Let's run our PCI Express cables here. This will be a very nice clean build overall. You know, I did have a pretty higher end system in here at one point, so you know, I'm definitely happy with the feature sets and everything. And like I said, it wasn't for the fact that a friend of mine was like, hey, I found this perfect case. Crackling Ice did it, and he comments a lot, and he's an admin on my stream, which I'll be streaming here actually in a little bit. A little bit referencing when I'm filming this, not when it goes up. I have no idea when this is going up in the release schedule. It's probably going to be about 2 weeks out from when I actually did do the filming. So that should be good there. So this is clean. This is what I really like about a case like this. Now back here, maybe not so clean. So don't need that, thankfully. Let's connect these together. I'll get you guys a little better view of what I'm working on here. So I haven't decided how I want to do this yet. I do want to make this accessible, but maybe I don't. I don't know. But everything is connected at this point. So we are good to fire her up. So we're going to do that before we get everything in there. So I'm going to shove everything down here for now. Let me put the front on. Let's connect everything up here. There's that one. Where are you? And then we have somewhere around here we have the right here. Let's say we have the SATA cable somewhere. So we'll plug this guy in. And then we will route this into SATA 3. We're going to leave this unplugged, but I will route it. This will shoot for one of the other SATA ports. So let me get the front on. You guys can kind of see. It came together pretty good. I did put this a high-end system into this case at one point, so I had no reservations that it was going to give me any problems. So it didn't. But I'm gonna hook this up to my my system. I'm gonna hook it up on the test system. That's fine. Should work. So let's get it fired up. We'll mess with the LEDs and everything. Just looking nice here overall, but let's how do we want to do this here? Let's take a look. Change the mode. That's static. It's breathing. What's that? I think that's what I want. Yeah. So it's not, unfortunately, quite synced with the graphics card LED, but this gives enough lighting. It really, really, really does. And I am really happy with this overall. So we're going to tuck this down here and away. Look at that. Just so nice. Pretty clean. I can clean up a little bit up in there and all, but pretty clean overall. Well, she's done. Both panels are on. All I have to do is reset the overclock to make sure it's set at 4.1, slap an OS on it. I've already done a lot of videos with this particular platform. I like it a lot, but it's time for it to go. It's going to go to a new owner, and I think it'll definitely do them well with the RX 570, the 6600K that's overclocked, 16 gigs of RAM, nice SSD, nice hard drive. Everything brand new. I'll give a full-year warranty, parts, labor, everything, and that's not just RMAing a product. That's actually, if something fails, I either have to get it quickly, temporarily replaced or permanently replaced, which can cost me money. So I have a lot of faith that this system should be, good for some time. So hopefully, guys, you like this build log here. If you did, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike button, but leave a comment. Tell me why you didn't like it. Everything in this video we'll put in the link in the description. And I don't know what's coming down soon. This is kind of the end of my projects at the moment. Oh, the build log. The build log for my system. And there probably is a case overview prior to that coming as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. As always, this is Steve from PC Budget Solutions, and I'll see you later on down the road.